Hello and welcome to this special 50th edition of the Airship 27 podcast. I'm your host, Chief Engineer Rob Davis, alongside my co-host, Captain Ron Fortier. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Rob. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
We've got some special news for all our loyal airmen out there. But before we get to that, we still have to deal with the sponsors and the people who make this show possible for us to get it up on the air. So I'm going to run through that real quick, and then I'll let you take that special announcement. So here we go. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find every episode of the Airship 27 podcast on comicspodcast.com each and every month. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Comic Frontline, YouTube, and of course, the Zone4Podcast.com. So there you go. We are everywhere. This is true. And this is why what Rob's about to tell you, loyal airmen, I hope makes you deliriously happy. Take it away, amigo.
Okay. We stars of YouTube. So here we are recording our 50th episode. 50. And we promised all you loyal airmen something special. Okay. So if you're listening to us via any of the audio sites we just mentioned, that's great. But if you take a second to go to YouTube and check out this episode there, just type Airship 27 podcast number 50. You'll not only hear us, but see us as well. So say hi and see me and Rob wave to all of you. From now on, all Airship 27 podcasts will be done in both audio and video.
Oh, you lucky dogs, you.
Oh, put your sunglasses on. I don't know if you can stand looking at us that much. Okay. Here's hoping we don't put YouTube out of business by everybody going, oh, no, we don't want to watch that stuff. And at long last, all you loyal airmen who have never met us in person finally can put a mug to these voices. This mug and that mug.
There you go. All right, loyal airmen. we are on the air. All right. I do want to mention a couple things in regard to this video thing that we're now stepping on and venturing into. We actually did test this on episode 49, but we kept it a little hush-hush because we wanted to see naturally how it was going to look before we start. We dumped it on all you unsuspectedly. Okay, and that taught us a couple of things. Mostly is you must understand we've done 50 episodes of the show now. All right, this is number 50, and we have an agenda which Rob and I go by. To read through the hour. Sometimes, obviously, we ad-lib a lot and add other things that aren't on the agenda. But for the most part, we find ourselves with these sheets of paper reading them. And one of the things that the experimental episode 49 taught both Rob and I is that if we're going to be doing video, we need to look at the camera every now and then and say hi to you who are watching this, so that you don't just see the tops of our heads all the time. It's going to take a little while to get used to. Please bear with us. And the second thing about this entire new what do we call it, Rob? Evolution of Airship 27.
I guess.
Yeah, it is
evolution.
The kicker is, I do want to let all of our good friends and loyal airmen, especially the artists out there who I know for a fact like to listen to our show while they work. Okay? Don't be afraid, as you heard me read off the commercial, intro that we do every episode. We are still on all those other audio-only platforms.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to listen to or see us on YouTube because you're busy and you're multitasking, then by all means, we are still there and you can still enjoy our show. So
that or just can't stand our mugs.
Like again, that's what I'm saying. When I was looking at when I took a look back on episode 49, I did catch a few things where I said, man, I got to learn not to do that on the air. So there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
South Park kind of things. I'll leave that reference as it is. Okay. So now it's time for that fun part of the show where Rob and I regale you with some of the most awful stinker jokes in the universe.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. And I have the misfortune or fortune, whichever way you want to look at this, of telling my joke first tonight. And so you all set, Rob. This one is again one of those, I think, oldies but goodies. It gets recirculated every 10 years with a new generation. But anyways, here we go. All right. And excuse me because it's rather long. I do have it on paper. A father passing his teenage son's room was astonished to find the bed was made, the room was cleaned and picked up. But then he saw an envelope propped up on the pillow and was addressed to Dad. Okay. With the worst anticipation, he opened the envelope and he read the letter with trembling hands. Dear Dad, it is with regret and sorrow that I'm writing you. I had to elope with my new girlfriend because I wanted to avoid a scene with you and Mom. I've been finding real passion with Stacy, and she is so nice, and I knew you would not approve of her because of her piercings, tattoo, tight motorcycle clothes, and because she's so much older than I am. But it's not only passion, Dad. She's pregnant. Stacy said she will be very happy together. She owns a trailer out in the woods, and we're going to start a firewood business for the winter. We share our dreams of having even more kids. Stacy has opened my eyes up that we could grow a marijuana farm, and it doesn't hurt anybody anymore. And we'll be growing not only for ourselves, but we'll be trading it, all right, with others in the commune for cocaine and ecstasy, all we want. In the meantime, we pray that science will find a cure for AIDS so that Stacy can get better. She surely deserves it. Don't worry, Dad. I'm old for 14 and I know how to take care of myself. Someday I'm sure you'll come and visit so you can get to know all your many grandchildren. Your beloved son, Joshua. Poor father grabs his chest. Then he noses one final paragraph. P.S. Dad, none of the above is true. I'm over at Jason's house. I just wanted to remind you that there are some worse things in life than a bad high school report card that's on the kitchen table now. Call me when it's safe to come home.
Son, just stay at Jason's.
It's worth the payoff, though, isn't it? It's worth the payoff.
Man, I knew it was going somewhere like that, but I had no idea. That's pretty good. Oh, gee.
Call me when it's safe to come home. Oh, kiddo.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So there you go. We started off with this episode's joke. Rob will end the episode with his own. And I'm sure all of us are waiting with bated breath for that.
Oh yes.
Okay, buddy, you take the first agenda.
Okay, well, let's see. Congratulations and farewell to Zone 4 weeks ago. After 10 years online, Brant Fowler's Zone 4 podcast came to an end with episode number 450. 450. My goodness.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of episodes. That is such an incredible achievement, and we wanted to take a second to congratulate Brant, along with all his co-hosts over the years that made Zone 4 a hallmark amongst comics-related podcasts. Brant began the podcast as a segment of Charlie Moore's own It's Related podcast, which was born from the comics-related website. After several episodes, Brant took the plunge and broke off from Charlie's program, and thus Zone 4 was born. Now, all these years later, Zone 4 became the springboard for our creating and launching the Airship 27 podcast. Thus, this show is part of that amazing legacy.
That's on me. I write these things rather quickly, and I left out a word.
I should have fixed it when I looked it over the first time, and I did not. But you should know that this is part of that amazing legacy started by Charlie, passed along to Brant, and now handed off to us. I got it, but
And there we are. Basically, one show leads to another show, which leads to another show. And just
we're the grandchild.
it, realizing that those 450 episodes, Rob, took him 10 years.
Wow, that's a long time. And I was thinking 50 was a lot. But
compared to that, yeah.
450. That's
Well,
that.
I mean, that being the case, that means you and I only have 400 to go. And and look, no offense, amigo. I may feel young at heart, but sitting here thinking about how old I'm going to be in 10 years.
Well, yeah, and
probably
me too.
have to wheel me to the PC. You know what I mean? And set me up, prop me up. Oh, but anyways, hey, Brant, amazing, absolutely fantastic, and I, as I've told people before, I was a part of that program for a few years as one of the co-hosts, and it was a ball. It was a lot of fun. It was always a great quality show that tried to prop up the whole idea of the comic community. It was never negative. It was never out to attack anybody, and I'm sure those of you who were listeners to Zone 4 know it hasn't completely disappeared, as Rob just said. I mean, we're a living example of that. And they have several other shows that spun off as well, including a thing called Comic Frontline, which Brant does on a regular basis. He has his own YouTube channel and whatever. So trust me, Brant is heavily into podcasting and YouTube channeling. So he hasn't gone anywhere. But again, still, we wanted to shout out a hearty congratulations.
Cool.
All right. So I get the next item here, and
okay.
Goes another Sherlock Holmes award nomination. We here at Airship 27 Productions are delighted to announce that The Adventure of the Man-Hunting Marshal, written by Jim Doherty under the pen name Peter Bazil, was one of the 5 finalists for a Derringer Award given by the Short Mystery Fiction Society in the category of Best Novelette. The tale appeared in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 11. The final awards will be announced in a month or two after the membership vote and will be given at the BoucherCon, the World Mystery Convention, held this year in Dallas, Texas, on the 31st of October through the 3rd of November. We want to wish Jim the best of luck and keeping our fingers crossed for him. So there you go. Yeah. Which I love this kind of stuff. It really speaks to the quality of the books that we put out. And other contributors that have worked with us in the past have contributed their stories or submitted their stories to other award ceremonies and such like that.
And the thing is that they own the stories that we publish. They hold the copyright, so they can send them anywhere they want to for awards nominations or anything. Apparently, Jim took it upon himself to put it in for this particular award, and it made the nomination list. So that's a cool deal. Congratulations.
Amen to that. I says, best of luck. And that doesn't only work across with our writers too, because although I didn't include it in the agenda this month, I should have, but this has only happened within the last couple of days. And I want to refer to one of our illustrators, our good friend, Ed Cato, who has been doing illustrations for us as of the last year or so. And he's done 2 books for us. He's working on a 3rd right now. And recently, up in upstate New York, a local museum is doing a program on emerging illustrators and invited Ed to come and display some of the illustrations he's done, primarily most of them that he's done for us at Airship 27, including a room with his work framed and mounted that includes all 9 illustrations for Wayne Carey's ghost story, Company of Shadows.
Yeah.
And Ed posted pictures on his Facebook page. It's really incredible to watch these things, like I said, being displayed as the real pieces of art they are. And the first matted frame, Rob, isn't an illustration at all. It's our back cover to the book,
Oh, cool.
explaining the idea with the story, et cetera, and more about Ed and Ted Hammond. No, Laura Givens was the artist on the cover, and then again, basically about Ed's illustrations. And each of his illustration mounts has a small little 5x7 card, which explains the scene that he was illustrating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, congratulations, Ed. You're giving us free publicity. What do you want me to say? That's just amazing. I kind of wonder if people going through this exhibition are going to finally say, hey, we should pick up a copy of this book.
It can't hurt. I mean, even if one person does it, that's cool. And that's one more copy sold. One more fan that might come along and say, hey, these guys do some pretty good work. Let's see what else they've done. Hopefully. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly.
Yep. And that's very much promotion. That's very much advertising for the company, which we are really always grateful.
Very good at that. So.
Yep. And speaking of awards and promotion, we're gonna good segue into the next item on the agenda. Here you go, Rob. Take it away.
All right. Pulp Factory Awards winners for 2019. On Friday night, April 12th, 2019, the Pulp Factory Awards were announced and presented at this year's Windy City Pulp and PaperCon. The awards celebrate the best of new pulp art and fiction from the previous year. The Pulp Factory is an internet Yahoo group made up of pulp writers, artists, editors, publishers, and fans. Moderator Ron Fortier and Rob Davis made the presentation to an enthusiastic audience, and they were enthusiastic. We have fun with this. So anyway, I'll take the first one, and then you can take the next one. You want to do it that way?
Yep.
Okay. First, Best New Pulp Novel, Vegas Heist by Van Allen Plexico from White Rocket Books.
Yay! And look, this book is easily one of the best crime novels I have read in the last couple of years.
I have a copy here, but I should have had it handy, but that's not within reach.
But just so you know, we'll pass it along as far as every story, every book we're going to mention is available on Amazon, and we urge you to go pick up a copy and check them out and see why our membership thought they were worthy of these awards. But this is actually Van's second Pulp Factory Award for Best Novel. So way to go, Van. All right. And so we followed that up. Again, Rob and I doing the presentation in front of the Windy City audience prior to their big Friday night auction. And they're getting familiar with us, Rob, because as you said, they are very much into the spirit of the awards and presentations now. And thanks to Doug Ellis and John Gunnison giving us that venue, we're on the slate every year. So if a show can continue to be as much fun as Windy City, it surprised me all the time when we have so much fun and it just gets better year and year after year. So the next category was best new pulp short story. All right, and the winner was Knights of the Silver Cross by Gordon Demowski from 1950s Western Roundup Pro Se Productions. Yay! And Gordon is one of our dear friends.
Yes.
Who has only been pursuing his writing career for, I'd say, maybe the last 3 years. He's been a blogger. He's been a blogger for at least 10, 15 years, if not longer. And he gets involved with social nonprofit organizations in the Chicago area where he lives. But it was only about 3 years ago when he started talking to us about doing stuff for Airship 27 and doing stuff for Tommy Hancock, and then started writing. We've published several of his stories. We've got more in the pipeline. And I don't think I've ever seen a happier, more joyous, person than when Gordon came up to receive that award. One of the things these awards do, and again, it's why Rob and I love doing them and handing them out, is it not only confirms to those people who are good writers, who've been doing this for a while, but it really gives a shot in the arm to newer writers all right, who may not have that confidence well established yet. And you got to know, Gordon left the convention that weekend so fired up to get back to writing, okay? Because he won an award.
Really
yeah.
was.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, next, and this one, well deserved. Best new pulp cover, Ted Hammond for Jezebel Johnston. Well, it's Morning Star. That's Jezebel Johnston number 4. Yeah, volume 4. Morning Star from Airship 27 Productions. Just an incredible cover by Ted. You hand stuff to him and he just knocks it out of the park. The cover shows Jezebel Johnston in her pirate outfit standing in the surf, and there's these apparently dead pirates that have been skewered by her bloody sword, and the ship in the background, and it's just a gorgeous piece of work.
Yeah, it's a beautiful composition. It's pure pirate pulp, and we should mention the author is Nancy Hansen.
Yes, I should have said that, but yeah, absolutely, yes. Nancy is continuing the saga as well. The Jezebel Johnston, just to kind of throw a little commercial for Airship 27 in here, we collected those first 4 books into an omnibus called Birth of a Buccaneer.
Correct.
First 4 novels all in one book, for a lot less than it would cost to buy each one of them separately as a printed book. Now, we didn't make a Kindle out of this, although Van was trying to twist my arm. He says he makes a lot of sales from his omnibuses. So I'm thinking about it, but all the books are available on Kindle. So, that's why I didn't go with the Kindle for the omnibus. But anyway, that's an aside.
Right. It's the thing is, the series is continuing. All right.
Right.
And absolutely. I think what Rob is alluding to is, we realized early on that we do a lot of series at Airship 27, but for the most part, they're a series of masked Avengers. The Moon Man, Secret Agent X, the Black Bat, whereby they're either anthologies or novels that stand alone. So you could buy book number 3 without ever having read book number 2 and still enjoy it. Now, what Nancy is doing with the Jezebel Johnston saga, and it is a saga, is it follows along. When you get into the first book, The Devil's Handmaid, she's just a 14-year-old girl disguised as a boy signing on to a pirate ship. Now, with each succeeding novel, book 2, book 3, she continues to mature, to grow, and have all these incredible adventures with an expanding cast of really colorful pirate characters. Meaning, if you bought, book number 3, I'm not saying you wouldn't enjoy it. You would definitely enjoy Nancy's writing, her research, and whatever, but it would not be the same if you have not read the previous books.
Yeah, there's more depth. There's more depth to it if you've read all of them. She makes references to things that have happened before, and it's okay in the book. But if you've read the previous ones, you'll get even more out of it. So, yeah, it's still, in order to make that easier for us to sell at conventions and such, we put it all in one. We put the first 4 in another book, and the next grouping of the saga will also collect into an omnibus. Probably should. That may depress the sales on the.
I don't really think so. I think she has a loyal following, and we are going to continue to print single. The next one is in fact book number 5, which will be your next assignment to illustrate. All right, but it was very rewarding for us, because we brought 3 copies of the omnibus to Windy City, not knowing what would happen.
They all went bye-bye. Yeah, yes. Every single one of them.
And at least two of the people who bought them made mention, "Oh, I bought number 1. I never saw the others." And boom, out comes the wall, and they scoffed it up. And that's the purpose. That's the exact reason we did the omnibus.
That is exactly why we did it. Exactly why we did it. We've got two more categories. So I guess the next one is up to you.
It is, and that is, again, on the art side of things, best interior illustrations, and that was won by the gentleman we just talked about a little while ago, Ed Cato, for the Adventures of Captain Graves, Airship 27 Productions, written by Thomas McNulty. This is a South Sea island adventure that takes place shortly after World War II. And it's Graves himself being interviewed by a reporter as he reminisces about one of his final adventures on a mysterious island and cannibal natives and all the typical pulp trappings that you'll find in the South Seas. And it was Ed's first project for Airship 27. So to have him win the Pulp Factory Award, Rob and I, about a week before the show, Ed's so busy now because he's teaching a college class up in Ithaca. And now he had this emerging artist thing happening. He's getting in the middle of illustrating book number 3 for us, which is going to be another Ravenwood Stepson of Mystery anthology. He basically couldn't get away to come to Windy City. He had come last year, it was his first time, and he had a blast.
He did, yeah.
So a week before the show, he drops me an email and says, I'm really sorry, Ron, there's just no way I can get away. I wish I could have made it. So here we are, Rob and I, last Friday night, and we're handed the list of winners because we don't know what they are until about an hour before the show. The award committee shows up at the convention with the actual awards and the list of nominees and who won. That's handed to me, and Rob and I go in front of the audience and we do our thing. So here I am looking at this, and I see Ed's name. And I went, oh, is he going to be so upset? He is not here. And of course, word eventually got to him through the grapevine, Facebook. People at the show were posting it digitally and whatever. And I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see his reaction when somebody says, hey, did you hear you won an award in Chicago? So sure enough, the day I get home from the con, I have a letter from Ed. He goes, I'm still curious though. He goes, if I won, he says, it would have been nice if somebody would have given me a hint, like maybe a message saying, it would behoove you to be in Chicago this week. to which I replied, as I just said, Rob and I really have no clue. We can't give anybody a heads up or warning to be at the show. Can't do that. So his award, and the other person, again, who wasn't at the show, was the other artist we just talked about, Ted Hammond, who, by the way, is Canadian himself. And I made a point of notifying him immediately, Rob, when I was back in my office. He had no clue. He didn't see it on Facebook or nothing. And the first time he knew he'd won was when I emailed him and congratulated him. And Van Plexico, one of the award committee members as well, has gotten back to me, and both awards have been shipped and they're on their way. I've asked both Ed and Ted to snap a picture of themselves holding the award for us. We'll post it on social media so people can see, and they both happily said they would do so. All right, one final category.
Last one. Best New Pulp Anthology. Tales of the Interstellar Bartenders Guild. Aubrey Stevens, editor, from Pro Se Productions.
Right. Yeah.
I am not familiar with this at all, but I love the title. That's a great title.
It is, and let me amend that a little bit, because when I wrote this, there was a little confusion on my part. But no, Aubrey should be listed as a co-editor. Tommy Hancock actually did edit it. With Aubrey's assistant and help.
Well, that's true, and I think that also the title, if I recall correctly, was Aubrey's idea. I think that's no.
No, I know. Let me fill that in, because it was actually suggested at a convention last year down south that they were both attending, and it was suggested by a friend of theirs. Both Aubrey and Tommy loved the title. They thought, wow, I bet our writers could do a lot with this and be a lot of fun. And if you look at the credits on the book cover, Rob, they have a lot of our friends in there, like Bobby Nash, Eric Ferguson. It is a stellar cast of contributors, so no surprise to me that it won. Sadly, within months of the project being underway, the gentleman who did come up with the name passed away.
Yeah, Shorty. They called him Shorty. I forget. Right. I'm sorry that I'm horrible with names. as everyone who listens to this podcast knows. But yeah, I remember his nickname was Short, but so I don't remember the rest of his name. I'm sure maybe we can put something in the show notes if we get the information.
Well, the point I want to make is that because of his untimely passing, long before the book was put together and assembled, if you pick up a copy of the book, it is dedicated to him.
Right. Yep.
So there you go. And again, congratulations to Tommy and Aubrey and the folks at Pro Se Productions for this particular award. The new Pulp Anthology is the youngest of the categories. It was only added about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
About the long time.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of discussion on the board about adding that in. I think a couple of years there where people were going, maybe we should do something about anthologies, and finally we decided that we could add that extra one in. So, yeah, the last thing, anyone wishing additional information about the Pulp Factory Awards should contact Ron at airship27@comcast.net. That guy.
Me. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, look, one of the things about us doing the Pulp Factory Awards for over 10 years now is that we do want them to be representative of the pulp community, not just the new pulp community, but the pulp community in general. And one of the ways that is happening is because the membership is expanding. When we first started the awards, I think we had a membership of a little over 100, Rob. We were like 110, 115. All right. We went to Chicago. We went to Chicago last weekend with a membership of 157. All right. There, I started a pitch for new recruits, and I'm happy to say that last week we did. Coming back from there, we've got at least 3, maybe 4 new members now.
Cool.
So we're well over 160. My goal is for us to reach 200. If we could have 200 members, I don't care if they're active or post or whatever, but they are members of the Pulp Factory. And look, folks out there, there's no dues. I've had people ask me, well, what do I do if I join? There's no dues whatsoever. You sign up on the Yahoo page. First of all, you contact either myself or Rob and say, hey, I'm a Pulp fan, Pulp enthusiast, or writer, whatever, and I'd like to join the Pulp Factory. Then we will send you an automated invitation. You follow the prompts to register, and you are automatically a member, meaning you will see, if you choose, posts by other members. And believe me, there are some wild and wacky conversations, and some of them even educational. Okay, we have 1 or 2 members who know the history of pulps frontwards and backwards. We have a guy over in England who I think is a blooming genius and writes these dissertations that blows everybody else away. So it is a fun group of people who want to keep pulp fandom alive. Now, basically that's it. Then comes the fun part if you are a member, and the reason why we're trying to get you to join us. All right. Come January, the award committee gets together and begins the process of creating that year's Pulp Factory Awards. And the first step in that process is the memberships. The members nominate stories and art. Well, obviously, if we have 200 members, that's going to be a widespread net that'll fall over the entire, field.
200 sets of eyes. Yeah, to see covers, to read stories, the more the merrier. The wider we can spread this, the better. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, we have
that guy.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do. So again, you don't have to pay a cent. In the past, and I'm gonna read this next part.
Yeah, It's a good segue.
It's a good segue because in the past, the bill for the awards came from the membership at large, and we would ask for donations every year. And you know what? Over the years, some people gave some tremendously generous checks and cash and whatever, while others just couldn't, and we understand that. And sadly, there were times when people who were part of the award committee at that time would have to kick in their own funds to pay for the final bill. And that became an issue every year. It was like, here it comes again. One step, you're happy we're having the awards, but the bad shoe drops when, oh, okay, we got to put the tin cup out again and hope we can pay for these. Well, we let this be known after coming back from Pulp, Windy City this year. And somewhere in those first few days, I put out a press release. It got some feedback, not all of it positive, some of it negative. And a certain individual by the name of Mr. Tom Brown stepped up, and there's this agenda: Radio Archives to sponsor the Pulp Factory Awards. Upon our return from Chicago, we began discussing ideas for how we could fund future Pulp Factory Awards. Each year, the members of the Pulp Factory donate to pay for the cost of the actual awards. And as often happens, only a handful can participate. This means, in the end, members of the awards committee have to dig into their own pockets to make up the shortfall. When Radio Archives manager Tom Brown learned of this situation, he contacted us and volunteered Radio Archives to become the sponsor of the awards going forward. Yay, Radio Archives. Absolutely great. All right. Okay. All of us are truly thankful for this magnanimous offer.
Yeah.
This support guarantees the continuing efforts of the awards in spotlighting the best in new pulp art and fiction for many years to come. What a great thing to do, really.
Unprompted. He decided that he happened to be in on the discussion, or happened to understand part of the discussion. It was part of something else we were talking about, and he just said, "Well, let me do it."
Yeah, I about fell out of my chair. I mean, whoa.
Yeah,
okay,
I did too. Wow.
We've been associated with them for a few years now, and it's been one of the smartest things that we here at Airship 27 have ever done. Tom Brown runs a quality ship. He produces quality audio CDs, and everything he's ever done, it comes out great. But this speaks volume to the man's character and his heart and his selflessness and generosity. So again, we are, when I called him on the phone to thank him, he was like, no. Look, I'm going to get free publicity out of this and whatever. He wouldn't take my thanks. I said, Tom,
no.
Stop eating your humble pie. Okay. What you're doing is phenomenal, and we want the world to know about it. Okay. And if you get good advertising out of it, you should. You're doing something.
Do it anonymously. Yeah, he wanted to do it anonymously. He just wanted to be a silent partner, and no, he should get. There should be some credit. I mean, we're not gonna beat the drum too loudly, because that's not the way he wants it done. But we do want to thank him for stepping up to the plate and taking this on. It's not a huge responsibility, but he's asked to take it on, and we're more than thrilled that he's going to do it. That solves a dilemma we've had every year since this award's been in inception, since inception.
Right. And it all seems to come together, Rob. Okay, it all seems to come together whereby we're having this new recruitment drive. And here we are talking to all you loyal airmen out there who maybe, I would gather, lots of you are not members of the factory. And here we've just told you what good things are happening in the factory, okay? So please, give some thought to joining us. I think you'd have a lot of fun becoming a member of the group. It would become a lot more personal to you, and it's a way for you to keep tabs of what's going on in the new pulp community moving forward.
Right. Yeah. And it is educational, as he pointed out earlier. So anyway, that's aside. Next year is going to be great. So anyway, released since our last show. First up, or most recent, Fred Adams Jr., Pulp Writer. The book features a short story from each of Fred's 6 ongoing series for Airship 27 Productions. Ron wrote the introduction, while I did the cover and the interior illustrations. And this was our sampler idea that Ron came up with a while back, so that folks could because Fred's doing 6, and now from what I understand, he's adding a 7th series for us. And this was an idea, let's put something out there that'll give people an opportunity to sample each one of these to see which one of them they like. Heck, they may like all of them for all we know. But this is a sampler of each one of those 6. I've read each and every one of them. They're just wonderful stories. I had a lot of fun illustrating them. Plus, what I found really interesting is they're all written by the same guy, but each story has a different feel to it, a different voice to it. So it's still all written by Fred, but each one of them each one has its own personality, and each one has its own feel. So pick that up if you're interested in finding out what kind of things Fred can do. This will be a good spot for you to start.
Right. We should mention that in the few years that he's been working for us, okay, and creating. And when we're talking about series, we mean book series. 6 ongoing book series.
Right.
Some of them have 3 volumes out. Some of them have 2. We launched one new one so far, which was Ike Mars, Volume 1.
Yeah, which is another one of the ones we're going to talk about here in just a second.
Right, and the point I'm saying is Volume 2 is already in production. The point
He's
is
a machine.
He is, and the point is, in the 2 or 3 years that Fred has come to Airship 27 and worked for us creating these series, he has started to slowly build up a really good audience. And Rob and I actually met people who came to the table looking for specific books in those series. He's done 3 issues of C.O. Jones. And sadly, we only had, I think, 1 volume on the table. And this gentleman who read it came up and wanted to know if we had the other 2. Sadly, we didn't, all right? And which goes back to how, we can't have 198 books on our tables. The table will crash. It will fall to the floor, okay? Well, never mind giving us busted backs, bringing these books back and forth.
We still had a record order for this show. We spent more on books for this show than we have spent on any of the previous Pulp Fests or Windy City shows. This was the biggest ever. So, but even at that, we still didn't have some of the books that some
people wanted. There you go. Right.
Which I reminded folks, and I'm going to remind them here right now.
Do it, Rob. Do it.
You hear that we are going to be at a show. Say, I go to Planet Comic-Con, or Ron goes to the Denver shows, or the Fort Collins shows. If you know soon enough, at least 10 to 14 days ahead of time, email that guy or this guy and tell us, and I will order the books that you're looking for so we can have them on the table for you. We want to sell you books, so let us know what you're looking for.
Right, exactly.
But it's got to be at least 10 days ahead, because it takes a while for me to order them and get them into the studio so I can box them up and bring them to the show.
Right, totally. And so again, right, and to segue back to that gentleman who was looking for the other C.O. Jones, it was a perfect opportunity for us to point out Fred Adams' Pulp writer, because he was unaware that Fred had these other 5 series.
Right. Yeah.
So he flipped through the book, and I believe that gentleman did pick up a copy of that.
Because I remember. Yep.
Yeah, because he's a fan of C.O. Jones. So again, that was the purpose of doing the sampler. In the future, we have another short story collection that's looking for an art team, which is what's holding it up, and that's by a veteran writer named Brad Siner, who who sent me 15 shorts that he had written, and they cover the spectrum of genre fiction, from
15?
fantasy, science. 15, all right, 15 stories. So it makes for a nice little anthology collection of his work. And hopefully, like I said, Rob and I have talked a bit. When we finally have the art package put together, I'm hoping that Rob will design a cover that will fit in line with what we did with Pulp Writer.
Yeah.
And make this like a continuing series spotlighting particular writers that work for us.
Yeah, I found a bunch of photographs that I based the covers off of, and they're similar. So there'll be a theme to these. If you've seen the first one, Fred Adams Pulp Writer, you'll have an idea what the next one will look like too. It'll be very similar to that one. So anyway, but that's neither here nor there.
All
Now,
right.
the next one, I guess that's in your
Yep.
dropping your
The next book that we released since our last podcast, and again, these you know about these because we talk about them ahead of time, but they are now available. And that was The Domino Lady Volume 3, which featured stories by Adam Madman Bazzeni, Gene Moyes, Brad Mengel, and Samantha Lionheart. Artist James Lyle did the interior illustrations and Ted Hammond the cover. We brought a bunch of those to Windy City, and we sold a bunch of those. That cover is just so.
That's Ted
gorgeous.
Hammond again. The award-winning Ted Hammond.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he just and James both love the character. So yeah, they are our Domino Lady art team. So
they will be.
Yeah, hopefully for a long time to come, because they do stellar work. They really do.
Right. Each volume seems to improve on the one prior. Okay, your turn.
Okay, and the last one, we kind of mentioned this one earlier. This is The Bloody Key, an Ike Mars mystery from Fred Adams Jr. The first in a new series from Fred. James McFarlane did the interior illustrations, and Rob did the cover.
That guy.
This was the debut of Fred's 6th ongoing series for Airship 27. And apparently, from what Ron says, he's got a 7th one lined up.
Right.
So man's a writing machine.
I should be getting the manuscript later, sometimes next week. But I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It's a really unique idea. Rob and I talked about it a little bit, but that's another thing I love about Fred's work, Rob. He tries not to duplicate himself. He writes. I mean, there's a little similarities between Ike Mars and C.O. Jones, but the things that separate the two are the unique factors of what make him different characters in series. But then again, he goes through time with his placement of where these series take place, like the Weird Westerns, the story of the co-joined twins in San Francisco, et cetera, et cetera. And this 7th series that we're talking about, okay, really is unique. All right, it's an amazing setting. I thought it was a brilliant concept. It would be difficult, I think, for an inexperienced writer to do, because it's going to take a heck of a lot of historical research to get the setting correct. But in Fred, I have nothing but the utmost faith that when this thing gets released and we announce it, people are going to be very surprised. I think it's custom made for drama and adventure. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
So what's coming next?
What's coming next from Airship 27? And as you all know, loyal airmen, we hit the ground running this year. I think I want to say not happily, but I'm okay with things having slowed down a little bit. Rob had to have some surgery. We got up on a lot of different things, and then there was the convention, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the snowstorm that hit us at the convention and all the kind of fun that was.
Yeah, but I was wondering if we were going to talk about that or not.
Oh yeah. Hey, the point being is we have been on a fast treadmill since the start of January, and again things tend to neither of us is 18, so. Yeah. We do the best. I
was kind of going, oh man.
We do the best we can with the full realization that at times things will slow down because we're waiting for art, we're waiting for submissions or whatever. So here's what's coming out. What I fully expect will be our next release is Barry Baskerville and the Buried Treasure. Now this is the 6th children's book in the ongoing series of Boy Detective Barry Baskerville, written by Richard Kellogg, with lots of great color illustrations by Gary Cotto.
That are in this box that I'm showing in front of the camera. I haven't even opened it yet, but here's the box of artwork from Gary right here. So that it probably early next week, I'll open that box and start assembling that book. I can't wait to see what Gary's done. But I do this. I make it Christmas. So when it's time to start the book, I open up the box and go, cool, there's Gary Cotto artwork.
All right, so Barry is a boy who wants to grow up to be like his hero, Sherlock Holmes. The books are great for young children and teaches them the values of logical thinking. And yeah, Rob does a great job at assembling this. It's a lot different than our regular pulp books. Obviously, it's a children's book, and what happens is Richard Kellogg will send us a story, which is basically typed, double spaced, a little manuscript. I'll read it. Rob will get a chance to read it. And then Rob does a layout. And I applaud you wholeheartedly because I love how you do it. But Rob
It's
does,
tough
yeah. How
because
are we going to put the text? What kind of art we need? And
yeah,
then he lays this out like a schematic and sends it to Gary in Hawaii.
right.
Then draws actual illustrations in color to match the spaces Rob has allowed him that match the
Yeah,
text,
so
etc.
I have in mind what might go on those pages when I'm doing it. Going, okay, well, how am I going to break this down? The story's got to have this. It's got to have that. So I'm going, okay, here's what I think, and then the pages come in that box, and they're nothing like what I thought. What was in here?
Well,
Gary done something completely different. It just blows me. That's why it's so much fun to open up that box and see.
I did clue Rob in on a little thing because at the same time, Gary sends him the original artwork. He sends me photocopies, all right, and beautifully colored photocopies. So I do see the art.
Yeah.
And in the early few pages at the start of the book, Barry gets on a bus. And if you know my amigo here and his career as a bus driver, my eyes popped out when I saw the bus.
The guy looks like this.
Yeah, right. Very much. Yeah. Right. If Gary to put a goatee on his bus driver in the story, he would be doing Rob. Okay. So I'm waiting for Rob to get to see it himself. I know you're going to get a big kick out of it, pal. And you know what? I am sure a lot of our loyal fans out there who purchase these books for their own children or their grandchildren or nieces are going to see those two illustrations and say, oh, he put Rob in the story. All right. But
No, it's not really me, but it's close. The guy's got white hair and he's got a white mustache, but
right.
The rest of he seems a little more squat than I am. I mean, I'm big, but I'm not as squat as this guy is. That's cool.
And look,
a lot of bus drivers look like that.
For all you loyal airmen out there, like I said, this book, what do you say, 7 to 10-year-old range?
Yeah, something like that. 7 to 10. I believe that's right.
Yeah.
I believe that's what Richard said that the age group is usually.
Right.
I'd have to get out the info, but
there are already 5 of these on the market available at Amazon, and this will be, book number 6. And we do have a 7th book in the files. Which Richard wanted to do a Christmas themed story.
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to gear when things will be finished or whatever. So there may be a way around us still doing this and not having it out exactly at Christmas, but there's something editorially you and I will talk about without even changing the story at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and it's possible, but it would depend heavily on what Gary's.
Right. That's why. I did tell Richard that please don't depend on this. We like doing 1 book a year in this series. Again, it's like our Sherlock Holmes books where we do 2 a year. There's a certain point where you understand the market, and if you do more than that, you're flooding it. So the fun of the Barry Baskerville books is it's our special audience. Okay, most of the stuff Rob and I do goes for adults. That's what we gear. But once a year, we get to do something really nice for parents and their kids, their sons and daughters, all right, who are just learning how to read and the fun of reading, all right? And the books are beautiful. There's something, and I know for a fact, because several of my great nieces and nephews have picked up these books and loved them. My nieces write to me and say, "You're going to do more Barry Baskervilles?"
One come in.
Right, exactly. They love the book. So please check them out if you have an opportunity. If you have a small child in your family who's just learning to read and has picked up the magic of what reading is all about, trust me, this series is for them.
Yep.
Okay, Rob.
All right. After that, in production, yes, it is writer Michael Housel's new Persona novel, Green Fleshed Fiends. Say that one 5 times fast. Artist Kevin Paul Broden is doing the interiors, and Chris Rodding has finished his stunning cover. I've already got the logo on it and everything. So
That's beautiful.
that was
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're just waiting on the illustrations for the interior, and he's hard at work on those right now. So that one's it's in the pipeline. But as we always tell loyal airmen, we can tell you this one's in the pipeline, and it'll be next. And then it'll be 3 or 4 months later before it finally comes out. It's just a matter of comes in.
Yeah,
It is. Parts coming.
Right. We do our best. We do our best to get things out as fast as we possibly can. We know some of you, who happily listen to the show and now watch the show. Hey, came up to us in Chicago and told us about how much you enjoy the episodes, and it makes the world a difference. Us, we love hearing that. Thing is, it's always our goal once we start a project to get it done in a timely fashion, because we're not just going to tell you about it and purposely make you wait for the final result. We'd like to get these books out to you as fast as we humanly can. But again, we're working with people who not only just draw and write, they have other lives, they have other responsibilities, and many of them do multiple projects at the same time. So again, it's a case of we have to have some patience. We appreciate you having the same. And trust me, when books are done, they get assembled and they get put out. Boom.
Yeah, it's not like we're just sitting here, we're going to hold on to this one for 3 or 4 months. No, we want them out there. I mean, look at the first couple of months of this year. We put out 9 books?
9 books.
Boom, 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 boom. So we get them out when we have them. So even if it works out putting them together. But anyway, let's see.
Of note, okay. Newly christened Pulp Factory Award winner Gordon Demowski recently turned in his story featuring Arthur Conan Doyle's other hero, Professor George Challenger. Months ago, if some of you will recall, Gordon convinced us to launch a series featuring this character and wrote a very comprehensive Bible of that character. So now the Challenger Chronicles have been officially started with his entry, and we are actively looking for 3 more stories to complete Volume 1. All stories must be 15,000 words in length. If you're at all interested, I'm the guy to contact. Give me a yell. I'll send you the Bible, and away we go. But this is a series I think that's going to grab a lot of people, especially Doyle fans who like our Sherlock Holmes, are maybe wondering what's Airship 27 going to do with George Challenger. And my pledge to them, what we're going to do is the same thing we've done with Sherlock Holmes. We're going to give you some of the most original, fresh, and exciting stories you can find any place on the market. That's our goal.
Fingers crossed. That's what we can do.
Yep. All right. And this month, we have a question.
Yep.
And I look. Let me read it, Rob, because I want you to answer it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I did a little research. I did some research.
I'm glad you did. No, because this one got me. I posted, I think, about a week ago or last week, whatever, 2 weeks ago, about the 50th anniversary show, and said, we'd really like some questions. Well, Dan Sen is a writer-editor who publishes Argo Comics. And he's one of the nicest guys in the business, Rob. I've had the opportunity to be on Zone 4 with him on certain episodes. A really, really great guy. And ever since we started this podcast, he's been one of our loyal listeners every single episode. So this is what he wrote. He said, loyal listener in comics was curious about our theme song that you hear at the start of every episode. He thinks the 2 voices heard in the song, and you'll remember the melody starts and one of them says, "Is this a nice song?" And then you hear another voice says, "Yes, it is a nice song." He says it sounds like Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, the famous movie comedy duo from the 20s and 30s. So come on, Rob, what's the story behind that old melody?
Okay. When we first started talking about doing this, I had this crazy idea. I thought, well, we got to have a theme song. Well, there's got to be some old Airship song out there of some sort that's probably in public domain. So I went to Google and I typed in Airship song, and several things came up, but this came up. Come take a trip in my airship. So I went to YouTube, and they had it. They had the music, and they played it, and or I played it, and it was, it was kind of cool. So I, I'm trying to think here. I think I have it open in a window down here. Let me see if it'll play. Yeah, here it is. So anyway, that's the song. And he gets it a little bit later. Brant has chopped out a piece of it that actually has he's talking about come take a trip in my airship. And here I also found on the internet, I was looking, and here's the cover to the sheet music.
Oh,
sheet music back in the book was the song was written in 1904.
Wow.
Yeah, 1904, and was first recorded on one of those wax cylinders.
Yeah.
You know,
Holy smokes.
Wasn't a 75. It was one of those wax
cylinders. Right. I know what you're talking about.
That's what that recording was, with the wax cylinder. Come take a trip on my airship, written by George Evans, composer. Ren Shields was the lyricist. It was created and published by Charles K. Harris in New York, 1904. First recorded on wax cylinder in 1904, the song has been covered by countless artists, including Natalie Merchant and Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash, his last album, recorded that song.
Whoa. I gotta find that.
It's really good. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
Go over to YouTube and play it.
I'm going to. Holy Johnny Cash. Whoa.
Johnny Cash, yeah.
That's crazy.
But I don't know what recording Brant found and used, because I couldn't find it. I didn't find it's the same thing. But it sounds like it's the same guy that's on the wax cylinder.
Yeah.
But it's a different recording from the one that I initially found.
Right.
I don't think it's Oliver and Hardy, because I did a search for them associated with that song and couldn't find a thing. There wasn't a thing that associated them with that song. Okay. But I mean, it does sound kind of like that. I mean, that's a good deduction. Yeah. But I couldn't find anything I couldn't find anything to disprove it either. But I didn't find anything that kind of associated them with that.
Well, okay. Hey, thanks for the information. That's really fascinating, Rob.
I'm not done yet. I got more here.
Go ahead.
We're into the end of what we've already spent an hour here. But anyway, Come Take a Trip on My Airship was also an animated film by the Fleischer brothers. The guys that did the Superman cartoons.
Popeye. In
1924, one of the first Max Fleischer and Dave Fleischer animation films to be released, long cartoons series, which used the DeForest phonofilm sound on film process, and which became famous for the slogan, "Follow the bouncing ball," letting the audience sing along with the lyrics. The first of Max Fleischer's experimental sound shorts to be released, made years before both The Jazz Singer, 1927, starring Al Jolson, and Walt Disney's cartoon Steamboat Willie, 1928, starring Mickey Mouse, and it had that song in it. Come take a trip in my airship.
That's insane.
I didn't know that until I did this research. So yeah. Isn't that interesting?
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Yeah. I when the guy wrote the song, I wonder if he there's no way he could possibly imagine that that two of us guys on this video podcast, no less audio, all right, are going to use that melody to open and close our show every
over 100 years later.
Yeah, yeah. So, hey, a lesson to all you creators out there, okay? Art just goes on and on and on and on. It does. Art lives forever. That's such a great story. Hey, Dan, thanks for the question and prompting Rob to answer that. It probably would have never come up in a regular episode. So, Dan, thank you. That's why we like having questions on the show. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, Rob, the hour has come and gone. It's time for your joke. Duck. Okay, well, duck, everybody, duck.
Yeah. Well, okay. Given the fact that Ron kind of alluded to this earlier, but I had surgery done on this ear. The eardrum burst on me, so I had to go into the doctor, and he's got it fixed. I'm still not hearing real well out of it yet. So it feels like there's a big ball of cotton right stuck here right inside my ear. But so anyway, I looked for a joke that might be associated with that. So first, I asked the doctor, if this doesn't get any better, what am I going to have to do? And he said, well, you might have to do this.
Okay, look. All right, now see, Rob. Now, people who don't listen or watch this on video are missing it. Rob is holding up a piece of paper with a guy who's got what looks like two radar halves stuck to both sides of his head and cut out around his ears. That is hilarious. Oh, my Lord. Oh, Rob, this is insane. Jeez.
But that's not the joke.
That's the joke. It's the joke. Give us the joke, Rob.
Okay. A concerned husband went to a doctor to talk about his doc. I think my wife is deaf because she never hears me the first time and always asks me to repeat things. Well, the doctor replied, go home tonight, stand about 15 feet from her and say something to her. If she doesn't reply, move about 5 feet closer and say it again. Keep doing this so that we'll get an idea about about the severity of her deafness. Sure enough, husband goes home and does exactly as instructed. He starts off about 15 feet from his wife in the kitchen as she is chopping some vegetables and says, honey, what's for dinner? He hears no response. He moves about 5 feet closer and asks again. No reply. He moves 5 feet closer. Still no reply. He gets fed up and moves right behind her, about an inch away, and he asks, honey, she replies, for the fourth time, vegetable stew. So who's got the problem?
Yeah. There you go. Oh. They're made for each other. What are you going to do? There it is. Oh, that picture's.
There it is again. Yeah, I couldn't believe that when that popped up on my screen.
Oh. That's crazy. That's absolutely okay. Hey, we're done. We once again taken up a valuable hour from your lives, which you can never get back.
Get back.
All right. Hey, look, if you're a loyal airman listener who's been with us all along, thanks so much. Reaching 50 is something I don't know if Rob and I ever thought was going to be possible. We just jumped into this thing when Brant made the offer available for us to do a show, and we have had a blast. Every single episode we've done this. It's so much fun to get it out to you people and to get your feedback. And again, we get it at cons, we get it on Facebook. So thank you so much. Hey, Rob, before we shut down this anniversary 50th episode, anything else you would like to add? Any plans, anything you're doing, or et cetera?
No, I'm going to be. I just got a script from R.A. Jones for a comic book that he and I are going to do for Roland Mann's Silverline Comics. So I've got to figure out how to wedge that in with everything else. But I've wanted to do some comics work for a while now. So that this coming across the transom at me, I went, yeah, I'll figure out somebody to fold this into everything else that I'm doing. So you'll hear more about that as time progresses. I'm hoping to. I've read about half the script already, and I'm gonna the rest of this weekend, in between all the Easter celebrations. So because we're recording this on Good Friday, so happy Easter to all of our listeners. If you're going to hear this after Easter is over with, but we hope you had a happy Easter. But anyway, in between all those celebrations, I'm going to try and do a little bit of that. Plus, anything that pops up with Airship 27 that needs to get done. I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up that box of Gary's artwork and take a look.
There you go. All right.
So I get that started. But,
as for yours truly, I am doing a lot of local shows this year here in Colorado. One of the first, which happens next weekend, is Comic Fest down in Denver at the Marriott Hotel. And it's from Friday, April 26th to Sunday, April 28th. So if you're in the Denver area, you have a chance. I did that show last year for the first time, Rob, and it was one of the best comic shows I've ever had the pleasure of doing. The people behind it are really knowledgeable and how to put on a good show. The fans have a great time. And then the weekend after that, you mentioned comics, is Free Comic Book Day. Yep. And as I have done ever since we moved out here to Colorado in Fort Collins, I will be a guest at the Griffin's Games and Comic Shop between Shields and Drake. The event opens, I believe, they open the doors at 9 o'clock and it goes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And this year, you'll get a kick, Rob, the local Chamber of Commerce and the same people who put on the FOCO convention are doing a benefit 5K run that will end at the comic shop. and is called, because it is the 4th, and may the 4th be with you, it is called the Kessel Run 5K. All proceeds going to the Pudra library system. So
that's clever. I like it.
Yeah. It's going to be a big deal. So if you live anywhere in the Fort Collins area, come on up and join the fun, whether you want to join in the race or come to the comic shop and see us. But it's going to be a citywide event kind of thing, and we're really looking forward to it. There we go.
All right.
Okay. And that's our show. So
I guess I have to end it now.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, this is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron has the fun of saying, down ship.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.